Once the equipment is installed and interconnected, we need to perform initial tests and configuration, starting with the voice network.
Now, if telephone service is available, you can make a final check of the voice network with a telephone butt set like this Harris TS29. Now, this will check for active dial tone and allow you to either monitor the line or put it in talk mode and dial out to double check the network's working. Now, this normally comes with a pair of telephone clip leads, but we attached a modular connector here to make our job a lot easier.
Back to you, Rich.
You should pre-configure as much of the network equipment, such as a router, wireless access point, and servers, as you can at the office. You should also make a network configuration worksheet. A sample is in your workbook. It lists all the network devices with their configuration information, such as IP addresses, ports, and so on. This is extremely valuable later if you need to troubleshoot the system. Our first step was to power up the panel and check for good status lights on the equipment. Then check for link lights between the switches, the router, the wireless access point, and the server. Now, once the panel looks good, and it does, Grayson and I will check the configuration and test all the data outlets. Okay, everything looks good at the panel.
Okay, well, I'm using our network configuration worksheet to double check the configuration of all our components, make sure they're still what we set them at.
Well, while you're doing that, why don't I go around and test the rest of the data outlets?
Okay, good. Now, Rich is going to use a Fluke link runner to double check that we've got a good 100 megabit per second link at every outlet.
If I find any trouble, I'll let you know.
Okay, good. Now, even though we don't have a broadband internet connection yet, we can certainly check everything on the LAN side of the network. Now, I've gone ahead and pre-configured static IP addresses for our wireless access point, camera server, core access panel, and so forth. And I've pre-set up some of the security settings as well as virtual server settings for the camera server. Now, when we return for homeowner for familiarization, we'll complete all the security settings.
Rich pre-configured the link runner with the IP address of the router. He plugs it into each outlet and presses test. It'll execute a DHCP protocol, get an IP address from the router, and ping the router. It would also ping the DNS server if we were connected to the internet and display the results. An excellent tool for troubleshooting the network in the field.
Now, next we're going to configure the wireless access point. I've gone ahead and set up the SSID with SSID broadcast, set the channel number, and we've temporarily turned on WEP encryption. Again, we'll reset this with a homeowner later. Now, once I've got this running, I'm going to unplug and connect via the wireless access point.
Well, how does it look?
Good. Well, good signal in here, just in case the homeowner wants to float his laptop in the tub.
Well, wouldn't you?
Gets in the way of my ducks and battleships.
Ah, of course.
So how's your testing going?
Well, it all looks good. I'm ready to go check the other end of the house.
Good. That's where I'm headed.
Okay.
It's also a good idea to check the signal strength outside on patios and porches. There's a pool going in here in the backyard, so the owner is likely to want to use a laptop in this area.
Next, I'll configure the camera server. Bring that up. Now, the server shows all 4 cameras at once. They're not aimed yet, but we'll do that later. Now, I can configure how often the cameras refresh and how they're accessed from the internet. Another thing to go over with the homeowner.
Well, everything checks out okay.
Great. Last thing I think is the core access panel. Why don't we make sure that's operating right and get it configured?
Okay, I'll connect the power.
All right. Okay, good. It's booting up.
Oh, great.
The panel has its own built-in diagnostics to show its IP address and whether it has a good connection to the internet.
Okay, now let's check its configuration.
We can set up all the initial panel settings, including webcam sites and our camera web server address, so we can view our cameras on this screen. We also need to configure the interface with the Omni Security panel, since the Core Access panel has a graphical user interface option for the Omni built in to handle thermostat settings, lighting controls, security status, and settings.
And we'll cover that with the homeowner.
Okay. As Grayson mentioned, we'll need to discuss security issues with the homeowner, WAN firewall settings, virtual server settings, wireless security, and recommendations for individual computer security.
Right. Now, each computer needs to be running its own security software, virus protection, and needs to be backed up regularly.
Well, let's tackle the RF distribution system.
Okay, guess it's time to do that.
Okay.
Now, the first step in setting up the RF distribution system is to set the main amplifier gain and tilt. Now, to do that, I'm going to inject a 0 dBmV reference signal into the cable input port of our system here. Rich, if I could get you to do that for us.
Sure.
Get that started. Now, I'm going to set the signal to a high channel and then a low channel, and then measure the output level at the farthest and closest location in the house. Now, since we don't have cable service available yet, I'm going to use my own homemade cable service. Now, this is a baseband video generator attached to a frequency agile modulator, and the output routed through a variable attenuator so I can easily set the output to whatever I need. Now, Rich, I've already got this thing set to channel 118, our high channel, 0 dBmV output.
Right.
So I'm going to take the signal meter and go to the farthest location, which is the master bath.
Right.
I'll tell you what I get, and then if you help me adjust it, we'll go to the low channel.
Okay, radio's on?
Radio's on.
All right, I'm ready.
The first step is to measure the signal level at the highest channel, channel 118. We want the level to be between 0 and plus 10 dBmV.
Okay, Rich, I've got plus 12.4, so let's bring it down a little bit. Go ahead. That's good, that's good. Okay, you're a little low. Bring it back up a Schmidt. Okay, good, good. You got it right there. I got plus 5 dBmV. All right, we're going to go to channel 14.
Next we go to a low channel. Channel 14 is the lowest we can set on the modulator. With the same